I got married after Floyd Fest.
I mean, how did that happen?
What
the hell?
I've been asking her for a while, not like on my knee asking her, but
Right.
like, look, I want to get married. And she's like, I'm never getting married again. And then at Floyd Fest, she's like, I'd marry you.
She
And I
got
was like,
drunk.
no, yeah, bad. Well, I did do that in Vegas one time. I was like, you guys so drunk last night, we got married and you forgot. So congratulations.
That's
when
funny.
she woke up.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, we went to California after Floyd Fest and did it
No kidding.
in San Diego. It was great.
Good for you. That's
good.
cool.
We didn't tell anyone until we
I'd
got
say
home.
not.
Yeah.
I didn't even see the ring. I wasn't
This
even...
is my plastic ring because I bought one there and it was way too big.
Yeah.
I almost lost it like the day we got married.
Sarah fixing it?
No, I got Ed and Ethel's. I didn't know if Sarah still...
She doesn't, but she's got a girl that still does it.
Okay, I should have asked her.
Yeah. Yeah. How long does this take?
We're rolling.
All right.
We usually roll for about an hour.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because I got to go to the airport.
What
Are
are
we
you doing?
started?
Episode 19.
What's up?
What's up?
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Yeah, you bet.
The one and only Bill St.
We
Pierre.
were trying to
on
think
the
of the
studio.
coolest person in Floyd County, and your name came up.
It must have, after another 100 probably.
It was pretty low on the
Yeah.
list. We started at the bottom.
It's fine. Because everybody else was too busy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Dan's been doing a good job of like finding people to talk to, and you're a pretty interesting guy. I mean, do woodworking in Floyd, you do cabinetry, you help out at Floyd Fest, you've done storm relief, you've done a lot. And what did you do before woodworking? That's what I want to know.
So I've always done woodworking, even as a little kid up in being raised in northern Vermont. Back then, late 70s, early 80s, we had a bike and a hatchet, so we'd go out and do stuff. And then when my grandfather passed away in 1978, now I'm 9 years old, my dad got some tools. My dad was a truck driver, and my father and mother had divorced, so my dad was trying to watch me and my 4 sisters.
Wow.
So I'd be out in the garage when my dad was on the road nights with these tools, like the old craftsman style tools with like no guards on
Radial
the skill
arm
saw.
saws.
Yeah, radial. 9 years old, and I'm trying to build birdhouses.
That's cool.
So I started building birdhouses, and I'd put them on our little tractor wagon, and I'd bring them down to the general store in Westbrook, Vermont, and I started selling them for like $5-6 a piece or whatever. So I started really liking working with wood. And then I was always an outside kind of guy. And then once I get into high school, my favorite thing was shop class. All the other things I was doing, math and everything, I just wasn't interested in nothing but looking out the window, what was happening outside, and shop class. So once I got into shop class, then I really started building furniture. And as soon as I got out of high school, still doing it. However, I couldn't do it as a full-time job. I had to do it as sort of a side thing. So I started St. Pierre Woodworking in Vermont in, I think, 1989.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I worked for a construction company. I was 19 years old, and I was running the shovel, and the boss had to go somewhere. And it's like, Billy, can you, of course, back then, my name was Billy, can you run that excavator, loading these trucks out? Never been on an excavator in my life, but I would watch people run it. I would figure it out. And I got on that excavator and never looked back.
Yeah.
He never took me off it. I stayed on an excavator all through my early years. Then I became a superintendent, still doing woodworking on the side. So when I moved to Virginia in 1999, I always wanted to build my woodworking business back up down here. Found Floyd, and I was working for Branch Highways. That's what brought me to Virginia. And then went to work for EC Pace Company because they were doing a job for us when we did the Blacksburg bypass. And I was a superintendent for them for 15 years. Still got to run equipment, but I was a supervisor over all the work that happened at Virginia Tech, the Corporate Research Center.
Wow.
Did a lot of big jobs.
Yeah, they're a big company. They do a lot.
Yeah, Pace is big. And when I went to work there, they only had like 25 employees. Now they're up to 100 and something.
Wow.
It's a really big company.
It's growing, huh?
And again, still doing my woodworking.
What kind of woodworking were you doing in Vermont? Were you doing cutting boards or
you know,
rustic?
I
Or
was doing, my first job was, a friend of mine owned a restaurant in Vermont, and he was remodeling it. And he came to me and said, Bill, can you build the whole salad bar and the bar and everything and the top? My shop up there was like 20 by 20. The top was 19 feet long or something. And I was able to do it. And I that was my first big job. And then I don't know if I made any money. I'm sure I didn't. But when I came to Virginia, it was basically starting at the craft shows, you know, cutting boards and small items that people could put in the back of their car. And I'd hit the thing down in Floyd every Friday night, you know, the market down there, and just trying to work my way up.
That's
you know?
cool.
And then it was in 2017, being in construction, I started seeing these buildings we were tearing down and these trees we take off sites. And, you know, I'm like, God, we're wasting all this wood and these beautiful trees. And I'm like, it's got to be a way. So that's when I decided to buy a sawmill, you know, and start cutting these trees up. So being with Pace, I could use their equipment to load it on the trucks, bring the logs to my mill. Then we tore down these cabins over in Blacksburg, and they were all American chestnut. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know what, that'd be kind of cool if I could cut that stuff. And I did. And that's what started the whole reclaim business with St. Pierre.
Yeah. And you got on TV doing that.
So then the next thing was, here I am still working full time for EC Pace, you know, making great money, company vehicle every 2 years, you know, all the benefits. And then Black Dog Salvage, started their new Salvage Dogs TV show.
Yeah.
And the first episode was right here in Floyd, right up down below Floyd Fest.
Gotcha.
On
in Czech or Copper Hill.
On that little dirt road that goes down by lot 22. And we tore a house down there, and I was running the excavator, and, you know, they were getting a few shots of me here and there, but I really wasn't on the show, but they could, you know, I never talked on it. And then Salvage Dogs did another show with me as the main character, being we were tearing a house down in Abington, after a tornado went through down there several years ago. And then they went back to my shop and they filmed it being milled. You know, we kind of staged everything. And once that show aired, everything went nuts for me. And my boss at EC Pace was like, it might be time for you to go. Like,
they're like, sweet.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, I'm not firing you, but it might be time for you to start thinking.
That's kind of cool that he recognized that and appreciated you.
And so much that just a few months after that, there was the Roanoke Chamber, my bank that I was using, which was Hometown Bank at the time, thought that I should run for Best New Small Business in Roanoke. I'm like, you know, I'm looking at all the people that are on the list, and I'm like, you know, aviation companies and you know, all these companies coming up with these great ideas, and I'm like, I don't stand a chance. But they were looking at all the things like, what did that company do for so and so, or what has this company done for their community, or what is so you know, we put this whole thing together, and in 2017 I won Best Small Business, Roanoke County, out of about 75 other businesses around Roanoke County.
Cool.
That was a big deal for us. And that's when it happened. That's when my boss, Mark Pace, he's like, I will finance you. I will get you on your feet. I will set you up with your insurance, all that stuff. And he did. And that's when I went off on my own.
How cool is that?
Even had a party for me at the end and gave me a bonus.
Wow.
I didn't know if he wanted me to leave that bad, or if it was just like, he thought it was great what I was doing.
It's kind of cool, I think. You know, I have employees and I feel like that. And when you see somebody rise up into themselves and become, it's exciting to see. And whether you're a real part of that happening or not, it's still just, I love watching people just bloom into something awesome like that.
Yeah.
He probably got excited about it. That's
He
cool.
did. And I was building furniture for his office, and I was building furniture for his dad and for his house. And, you know, so all the stuff that, you know, that he has, I built. So he was excited for me, and he knew it was a once in a lifetime thing for me. He knew that I had 4 kids coming up. I had one, my son at the time was at Virginia Tech, and 3 more coming up to go to college. But he wanted to make sure I was protected, took my company vehicle, put it behind the fence for like 6 months in case it didn't work out.
Wow.
I could go right back into my same role. So lucky me, I had a escape route. You know, I had a safety net where if my business didn't work out, I always had something to go back to, where a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they fail, they're done.
Yeah. It's nice to know that you're supported in that way.
Right.
And we talked about it once on the podcast, is like leaving with grace. You know, when employees leave, like whether it's for me or anywhere in the world, it's like leaving on good terms is the way to do it. Because if you're trying to grow a business, you always want to be able to rely on where you were in the past for advice, support, your job back, things like that. It's nice to be able to leave in that way.
And especially in a small community.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, there's only so many bridges you want to burn, and that's one you don't want to burn. If you just up and quit, or you give a 3-day notice or something like that, we all speak, we all talk, we all know each other.
Yeah.
And it's going to come back around where, you know, so I had the opportunity to leave on good grace. I gave like a 2-month notice. I finished the job that I was working on, which was in Blacksburg, Torque Robotics. And I got that job done, and slowly moved into my role as owning a new woodworking business.
That started up at your house.
So that started up at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, and it's funny how businesses grow, and it's cool to see how businesses, you know, ones that aren't turned over to somebody, you know, ones that aren't given to, you know, somebody.
Naturally.
How we've started our businesses just like you, where we were out there every day and we drove the junky trucks and we had to make it all work with what we had.
Yeah. Grinding.
And I started up there in my little shop, which was 24 by 24, and then built a new shop up at my house, built more buildings to put the sawmill in, dry kilns, and it just started getting overwhelming in the amount of people coming to my house. And then I start thinking, what am I going to do if I ever want to retire and sell this business?
Yeah.
You know, it's on my property. That's when we bought the property, the 33 acres beside us.
Yep.
So I could start building the new shop, get it away from my house, and have something at the end, whether somebody wanted to buy the woodworking business or just the land, I had something I could sell and kind of fall back on.
And you still can remove yourself from your work a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
More. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
nice.
When you're at your house and you're sick or something, and you're looking out the window and you got people driving in and employees knocking, "Hey, Bill, hate to bother you." You know, it just wasn't working out. That wasn't working out.
Yeah, I know. I try to keep my house as like my safe zone.
Yeah.
You know, my first years, we never had an office or anything. So we worked out of the library in town a lot, and then worked in my house. And I was like, it's too close to home for me. Now, I know you have to do what you have to do in the beginning. I mean, obviously, but it's been nice to have that separation.
Yeah.
And we want to build a house closer to where we're at. This is our shop, because I'd love to be a little bit closer. But it is nice having that. And your shop is nice over there.
It came out good. It's kind of a Vermont theme, you know, just the red barns.
It totally has that vibe.
Yeah. You know, if you go to New England, you kind of see that whole, you know, all the buildings are the same color. They're all red, and it's kind of, and that's kind of what I brought, even with my house. When I came to Virginia, I kind of kept with the New England type theme on everything I build. But
did you build that house, or did you
I built
buy
that house.
Cool.
So, and this is where everything was getting really complicated. When I came down here, things weren't the best for us. You know, we were struggling in New England. Our son and daughter were young, and Vermont's a very hard state to live in. You know, during the winter, you don't keep going with construction. You shut down. And then you start hauling salt. You know, we'd get in the dump trucks, and I'd be running back and forth hauling salt, or I'd be hauling oil at night. I'd work all day and jump in a truck at night, go get a load of oil and bring it back, and going over to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I was always working all the time. And then when I came to Virginia, I'm thinking, you know, maybe I can scale back a little bit, you know, and not work as much, and kind of help raise the kids and be around. And then decided to start building a house. So my wife and I were living in Roanoke, in my sister's house, renting it. We were looking for a place to buy or rent or whatever. 30 years old at the time. And I was looking in the Roanoke Times, and I saw land for sale by owner.
Up here?
up
That
here
spot.
in Floyd, which was David Larson. Never been to Floyd, never heard of Floyd. We drove up the mountain, foggy that day. We're coming up this mountain. My wife's like, there's no way we're moving up here. And then we get to the land, which is up on top of a mountain, and the driveway wasn't really there, so we had to walk up. And then she's like, "There's no way, this is not going to happen." So I get up there, and I could visually see what we could do with that property. And the next day, made an offer on it.
Did you
So,
tell her, or did you
I just told her, "Hey, if anything, we got a place to go and put a tent,
Yeah.
and get out of Roanoke for the price that we paid for it." I was like, David Larson had just repossessed it from somebody else, and I fell right into it. And then I started building the house. I was working in Rocky Mount.
She's like, I thought we were doing a tent.
No, I know. She's like,
It doesn't look like
yeah.
a tent platform.
yeah, it wasn't. No, I was pouring concrete in February and building a house. Built a house all by myself. Working in Rocky Mount, putting a new Route 40 up by Walmart
With
and all that
EC
stuff.
pace.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and started building a house. Going down to Sam Hancock sawmill, getting all my lumber, because back then you could build out of wood
Right, rough
right off
some.
the mill, and built. What it was I was building my woodworking shop,
Mm.
and then we were going to live in it while we built the house out front. Well, then another kid came, so we just added a wing to the woodworking shop, and then another wing, and then it just came into that's where we lived. So that didn't work out. But yeah, I built my house. Took a few years. Then I'd build my dad a little place up there. Then the new shop. So I've got several structures up there that I built, all of it by myself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I mean,
Yep.
it's like up on top. It's like almost a 360,
Yeah.
right? Is it a 360?
Just about during
Yeah.
the winter, it's a 360.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we can see all the mountains out in Pearisburg, and obviously the buffalo, and yeah, it's a pretty special place for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I just bought a piece of land that's closer to you
Yeah.
on 221 there, and the next parcel comes out on Kennedy School over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I
looking
got a
at the
friend that
maps.
lives up on top, and I've heard that property is outstanding out there.
It's pretty cool.
Like old growth trees, and just it's
Oh,
beautiful.
you gotta come someday. Like I'll be out there this weekend, but that was a similar thing where Rye and I went out there. We couldn't make it very far because you can go on like a few acres and then you got to cross this 40-foot wide creek.
Yeah.
And I did get her across, but then it's like fighting briars. And she's like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, cool. And then I went back 6 months later and I walked the boundary. I got permission from the agent, and it was a hard walk.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got out there at sunrise and I was about to die by noon.
I
And,
bet.
crawling and climbing down cliffs and all, there's no trails at that point. And I told her, I came home, I said, we got to buy that land. And she's like, absolutely not, until I walk it. And I was like, oh. So Dan and his wife, and you guys were 7 months
Yeah.
pregnant,
We were deep into pregnancy.
walked this whole property. And
It's like 200 acres, right?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't make the whole thing. We got a good portion of it done. We did the whole river and stuff. It's got over a mile, a little river on it. And
Wow.
and then over a mile Beaver Dam Creek. And we walked it, and then Rye's like, yep, we need it.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. And we started making offers, and they're like radio silence. They didn't even call me back. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, come on, man. And finally I made an offer. He goes, you're not even close. I was like, well, it's been on the market for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, how can I not, like, well, let's just start a conversation.
Right.
And he's like, we got to come up. And so then I didn't talk to him for 5 months. And I was like really stressed because I'm like, if this thing sells, I'm going to be upset for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I will not, I'm going to have to drive down Stonewall and around that
Just
property
to
just
go
because
around
I
it.
won't be able to make visual contact with it.
Yeah.
And Brooke, who works in the office, she's like, this guy's been calling you. He called 3 times today. He said it's about a piece of land, and I looked at his number. I knew who it was. And I called him back, and I was like, hey, I got a message that you want a house built. And he's like, I don't want a house built. I got the land. I want to talk to you about the land. I was like, I know you got land, but the first step is talking about the house. I was trying to play dumb.
Right.
And And he's like, no, the land that you want to buy. I was like, what land? I was like, I'm not interested in any land. I made an offer months ago, but they didn't even get back to me. So I figured they weren't interested. He goes, I'm interested. And I was like, I don't. And then I was like, finally, like, look, man, I know your contract's coming to an end. I was like, let's just be honest. Like, it's been on the market for 2 years. It's not sold. Tell me your rock bottom price. And so we got it. And I was pretty
No
pumped.
kidding.
Yeah. I was pretty stoked that we were able to make an agreement on it, because I never in my life thought I would have something like that. When I started Omnibuild, and I think it's been similar for you at times. I don't know like a 100%, but there were times in Omnibuild where I had like $200. I
Oh,
had to borrow
yeah.
$1,000 to fix my truck to go back to work, and thinking back 14 years ago, and now it's like, being able to even entertain the idea of something like
Yeah.
that happening, it's been really cool.
That's the part where you deserve it, and people don't realize that we're finally. I've had employees, well, it must be nice. You got a new truck. Must be nice. Okay, you weren't there when I had to borrow $200 to pay for my truck, or when I had to figure out how to make payroll or take money out of my own account. You weren't there those times when that happened.
Yeah.
But yet they have the nerve. So then you go and buy a house like that, and then the people, well, God, it must be nice. Y'all weren't there when all this started.
It's tricky. It is a very difficult thing. And how many you have employees now?
Nothing like what you have. But if even having one employee,
Yeah.
I have 5 now.
Yeah.
But
That's good.
it's no different than having 60.
Yeah.
It's
the same.
You just have to get the right people in there to manage those people. So you're not that one person. You've got it. And I think I sent you a text a few months ago, like, your people were down working at my shop. And then we had your other team, your design team was down there working with another
client
part, and we were doing and your people are so professional,
Yeah.
and they were
Thanks,
like,
man.
and I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, I was driving, I was like, boy, Matt's really built something there. He's really got something that he's done well. Because I remember you coming up to the house in your old Dodge truck to buy a mantle.
Yeah.
That you were doing the job. You were building the house. You were doing it all. That was 20 years ago. But we finally are getting to a point where, we deserve it. We should have a little something.
Yeah. No, it's a cool thing. And it definitely is a tricky thing in business of like that balance, and I give back a lot to my employees, and I think that they know that. I mean, I had an employee yesterday who, was emotional, and he's like on the verge of tears, and he's like, I just can't do it, and I said, well, instead of me just giving you money, like, let's talk about your finances. Let's look at what you're spending your money on. How many subscriptions do you have? How many different vehicle things do you have? Like, what is going on in your life that you might not be affording this?
Right.
And let's figure out how much you really need to make to get by, and talk about money management. And that's what I was telling like somebody at the Board of Education. I was like, I think the problem with a lot of our kids is, like, I remember going to home economics class when I was in middle school, and they taught me how to have a bank account and how to manage my money, and how my mortgage shouldn't be more than like 1.5 weeks of my pay, or rent, and balancing things out like that. And I still use that in my mind. I mean, I still think that way. When I'm trying to buy something, and that was the beauty of my old partner, Abel, who doesn't live here. He didn't want for anything. I mean, he would literally, I seen him eat his lunch with a piece of a shingle because he didn't have a fork. He's just
Yeah.
like, he's just hardcore, and like, and every time I felt like I needed something, I'd have to call him and be like, hey, I need this new truck. And he's like, you don't need that truck, like, at all.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, okay. And, so it was like a nice voice of reason for me. And that was the biggest part I was worried about when he left, was like, am I going to not have that voice of reason,
Yeah.
to bounce things off of?
Yeah.
And I still talk to him a lot, and I don't really ask for anything, but it's definitely been something that's been on my mind when I'm thinking about doing things,
Yeah.
and I think it's one of the reasons why we grew like we did, because I was conservative in the beginning. And nowadays I get what I have to get to make it work, you know. And there's certain people like, you know, that work for me that go the extra mile. I mean, all the time. You
Yeah.
know, it's like Haley has a nice car. That girl works her tail off. I mean, she goes 7 days a week, you know, and she drives all over the place, meeting with clients, taking them. She was one of, I don't know if, I guess probably her and Olivia came to your shop.
Yeah,
And
it was them.
and you know, it's like I felt really good about getting her that car, you know,
Mhm.
because she deserves it,
Sure.
you know, and it's a cool thing. It's tricky having employees and like that balance, but like I think over the years I've been really open to it and listening and trying to remove myself and understand what people are asking for. And yeah, I think that's the trickiest part of the business.
Yeah. When I walked out of EC Pace store, Mark Pace's last words to me were, surround yourself with people smarter than you,
Yeah.
you know, and find employees that work like the owner and you work like the employee.
Yeah.
And just, you know, try to make it work. And I've seen you do that for years as well. And that's what gets us, you know, to where we're at, you know.
Yeah.
If we just had, you know, people that didn't care, and we were having to deal with all the stress, that just breaks us down. And then we're not as good at doing what we do because we're so concerned with everything else. And then you become, you know, if you have employees that have issues and you're trying to deal with their problems, you have problems of your own, it just doesn't work out.
No,
And an owner or a boss will just break down, and that's the end of that company.
Yeah.
So
It is tricky.
It's very tricky.
We try to, we refer to like our team or whatever as a family, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, we're pushing 60 employees and we're still hiring.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit out of control at the
But
moment.
you can't do all that yourself anymore. That's why you have the right people in the right places.
Well, people always say, how you doing? I was like, we have a good team. And that's all the way down to the least paid person who's training up, you know, and it's like some of the people that are in the highest positions in my company have been here for the longest, started with absolutely no experience.
Right.
I mean, they've never done carpentry work. They have no clue. Most of the project managers, I mean, we just hired a project manager who does pottery. Never project manage ever. I mean, they project manage their pottery, but not at the scale we're doing. And I'm like, you have all the right pieces. We just have to kind of tweak them a little bit and make it work. And I think that's why I've been successful too, because I'm willing to give people chances that are either nervous about working in the trades, like women. Like that's just a common thing. It sucks, but you know, women are typically nervous, I think, to come into the trades because I've got multiple women on my crews, and it always feels like intimidating for them when they come in. And I'm like, oh, we're good, you know. And I try to have a woman there, and
it's always nice. And I've always said when I was with Branch Highways, when I first moved down here, we had workers, some women, and they were driving the trucks, the off-road trucks, when we were moving the dirt over in Blacksburg. They were the best employees. You know, they just didn't complain. They worked all day. You know, they just were the best. And I've always said that. Then when I went to Pace, same thing. There was a lot of women that worked there, and man, they did their jobs and they did it well. And they're, you know, and now 2 of my 5 employees are women. And they're amazing.
they're tough.
Like, I'm talking amazing workers.
I think women are a lot tougher than we think, because they literally grow people inside of them and then push them out.
Sure.
I mean, that's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
I can't.
And they walk in the mountains with
They're
their
hiking.
bellies full of babies.
I mean, we would be complaining every second of every day. Imagine that.
I'm like, wow, you can do that? That's pretty serious.
That is pretty serious. But that's funny.
I think, you know, it's been fun to grow a business like this. I mean, at times lately I've been like, I'm a prisoner of this thing. Like, I don't know how I end this or stop it. Not that that's on the forefront of my mind, but it's on the back front. Like, of like, one day when I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, you know, it's going to take years to like get to the end of that. But like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and, you know, that's the tricky thing now. It's like if an opportunity came up, like they were like, we want you to go do electrical work in Antarctica and like whatever. And I was like, that's kind of cool, you know, like not that I would, but I don't feel like I have that option anymore, like to change gears that fast, you know?
Yeah. And I have other friends that have had businesses, where they start bringing their employees in and start training them to the point where, okay, y'all are going to own this one day.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to leave, and then you're going to pay me.
Yeah.
That's usually a good way out, because if you just sell the company or shut it down, which you wouldn't do.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, that's not. So it's usually getting people within the company to start stepping up and taking over, and then you slowly and that's the way I'm going to do mine.
Yeah, I think that's almost like naturally happening right now.
Yeah.
Like we finally have some young bloods in there that are like energetic and really into it, and I think there's almost a natural progression of that kind of taking place right now.
Yeah. Shelter Alternatives just did that.
Yeah, I saw there's a guy in Floyd that is one of the managers.
That's right. And he stepped up into the role of owning it. Him and another girl and one other guy. And the owner just stepped back, and now they're taking it over, and that's a good way to do it.
I should talk to Ed about that.
We got a little while before we have to worry about that.
Oh yeah.
But now's a good time to start planning for it.
Well, I was on a job the other day, and some guy referred to me as thinking I was in the 70 age range. I was like, what? He put his hand on my back, and he's like, people like our age. And I was like, our age? I was like,
maybe my age. Yeah, maybe me.
I was like, oh man. I was like, because it's funny. I went somewhere the other day, and somebody asked me if my daughter was my sister. And they were like, oh, that's your sister? I was like, that's my daughter, man. And they're like, what? They were like, you look like you could be her brother. And I was like, good Lord, man. I was like, I think it's the flat bill hat. It gives me like a young edge. So maybe I'll start curving it and I'll look older.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So how was Floyd Fest for you this year? You do a lot out there.
So Floyd Fest was good. Sales, not so much. Probably my worst year ever. However, I think I put more into it this year than ever. So we had a lot of people come and look at the Yurt, interested in the Yurt. As far as the furniture, I put a new Yurt up at Floyd Fest, and I put it over in a corner, which was the perfect place for a Yurt. But it took my traffic away from where I used to be. I didn't have that you had to walk to me and then back rather than walking by me, where we would always get more traffic.
That corner is pretty busy.
Yeah. So I feel like we lost a little bit there. I'm gonna have to regroup for next year. And kind of look at things a little different and see how I want to do this. But yeah, I've always enjoyed doing things for Floyd Fest, building main field things or, whatever, signage or just little things that people never even see. There's things that, you and I both do a lot up there where people don't even see it.
Yeah.
But I like it. If there's something I like and I enjoy, then I'll give. I'll help out. I'll do things. It kind of takes me away from the shop and all the other stuff going on, and I can go up there and, like when I used to build like the ship at the old site or the UFO or it's just things that I can create something myself and build it, with my own mind, and no one's telling me what to do. And then 10,000 people get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a week, but it's that 1 week a year. But, everyone's like, how was Floyd Fest? Well, like we start long before the gates open.
Yeah.
We've
already started for next
year. And you have started long before anything, any of us, because of what you've done up there. But me, now I'm up there and I do a lot of work with my little excavator, and I'm there all year round. But then when it starts coming June, then, the heat starts pushing, and we're trying to get things done.
Yeah.
So we're almost wore out before Floyd Fest even gets here.
I know. I this year I felt a little bit better, and Haley steps up big and does our whole booth and our stage and stuff like that. Dan helps out too, and we did the giveaway, which you got involved with, and we always seems like we always lose money up there, like quite a bit. We put a lot in, we buy a lot of merch and try and sell it, but I get a lot, like you said, if you enjoy doing it, and I enjoy doing it, and we get so much out of it, just the interaction with people. And, the giveaway was great. I saw Regina the other day, who won one of the coolers and one of your cutting boards.
Yeah.
And she's like, I was so pumped. And she's like, I love that cutting board and cooler and everything. I was
Good.
like, great. I was like, it's kind of fun. And Dan brought the bikes. We raffled those bikes off to Asheville the other day to a girl that won them. She left
Yeah, I saw that.
before finding out she won or
Oh,
something.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Was she from Roanoke?
No, she was from Raleigh.
Oh.
And then they moved to Asheville.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. I saw the picture of her with her bikes, and it looked like a place down in Roanoke. But
Did you post it?
not yet. We sent it out in the email.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So. But
Yeah.
she was stoked.
yeah, I bet
very
she
happy.
was.
It was fun.
And you gave 2
Gave
Yeah.
2.
instead of 1 to each, so you had just 1 winner for 2 bikes.
Yeah.
Great.
You know, I I think like we decided to do these things in a like that. Like
Yeah.
we weren't even gonna do a giveaway, and then we kind of talked about it, and then I was like, let's do 2. And then all of a sudden everybody's
Yeah.
like, why are you doing 2? And I was like, I don't know, actually. We just decided to do it. And I think it made it really exciting. We did 4 or 5 times the amount of people in the photo booth, because really what we're trying to do is steal emails and then blow them up with spam. Right?
Yeah.
It's like
There you go.
no,
I'm trying to
That's
spam
perfect.
people.
Yeah.
no. I mean, we want to get people excited about the stage and the booth.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Sure.
like the same thing with you. You're in that corner. You're trying to figure out how to get traffic. And last year we had the same exact thing where we were up there. People do go to that stage, but we're kind of set back. There's nothing past us,
Right.
you know? So we were like, how are we going to get people? So we like, let's do this giveaway,
Yeah.
you know, and people come to the booth. They're talking about building houses. They're
Yeah.
talking about the stuff that are in the coolers, you know, we're talking to them about local businesses. And it was pretty cool. Like Hayden came up from Red Rooster afterwards, and he's like, saw 35 people in line to take a picture for the bike raffle. And he's like, I want in on this next year.
No kidding.
And, you know, he wants to do an espresso machine. And I was like,
wow.
this is cool. Like, this could be like a really cool thing. And we should talk about doing something like where they got to come to my booth and your booth
Yeah,
or
right.
something
Yeah.
to make it almost like
Like a scavenger hunt. type
better
thing.
odds. Yeah. And then go to Red Rooster or something and make it really cool. Cause I enjoy doing it. Like I love like giving stuff away and seeing how people are about it. It's
We both do, and that's our problem.
you-
But it's really not a problem. But if you have someone like my wife looking at the numbers, like,
yeah.
okay, when's this gonna stop?
I have a wife now, so
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, you know, but she also knows that I'm passionate about it, and I love Floyd Fest.
Yeah.
I like seeing the people having fun. I like seeing everybody enjoy. I like listening to the music. So I will give. I will do what I can to be a part of that.
That's funny. Your wife is your accountant.
Yeah.
And mine is my bookkeeper and
Yeah.
accountant too.
And that's
so
where and you were
it's
talking
rough.
about Abel, like, and when I need a new truck, you know, it's like I got to go through her first, and it usually doesn't work out. You know, it's not a good
you
it's not a
can't
good
hide
thing.
much.
No,
There's no hiding.
there was
So
nothing.
is that the secret to a successful small business? Is
Yeah,
make sure your wife is an accountant?
Yeah,
yeah, because then you can spend all your money.
yeah, and then you will definitely succeed for sure, because
Yeah.
they look at it from the outside as, you know, and they know where the money's going and where it's not, and do we need this and should we have this, and I've made some bad choices, but I've made some good ones. So
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Yeah,
Make sure your wife's an accountant or bookkeeper if
Yeah.
you're gonna have a small business.
yeah, but then the guys that aren't, like my wife has nothing to do with it. And they're out there driving like everything's brand new. they're in a way so far over
I
their
just
head.
bought my second beach home.
Yeah.
Like how your
It gets-
wife was not being an
Yeah,
accountant.
4 Harleys, 2 bass boats. Yeah, no, that's that's the
Boats
truth.
are cool. I am
That's the
totally
truth.
not allowed to get a boat. I
You're not
rent
allowed to get a boat.
as of today.
Oh.
And yesterday and all the days before that. But we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah,
No, we rented a pontoon boat on Smith
fun.
Mountain Lake, and we had a really good time.
yeah.
We've
Well,
never done that.
Sometimes you just gotta ask for forgiveness, because I bought a boat a few years ago, and my wife could not understand why I was buying a boat, but things kind of work out, and I went to I was looking for this boat, and I found one right during COVID. All the big shops, you know, nobody had boats for sale, and I found this really nice boat, the size that I wanted, down in North Carolina. So I bought the boat and I brought it home, and she was just not it wasn't, didn't even come out to see it.
Yeah.
She didn't want anything to do with this boat, wondering like, what am I going to do with this boat? Well,
You're like in the woods putting hay bales.
yeah,
What are you doing out?
I'm
It's not a
blocking.
boat, I swear.
Yeah. So then a few weeks later, a guy came and bought a mantle from me, and I had already pulled the boat to Clayton Lake, and I already pulled it to Smith Mountain, put it in and off the trailer. And this is a 25-foot boat, so it's a pretty good size boat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this isn't fun, having to. So the guy comes and buys a mantle, and says, yeah, I build docks over on Smith Mountain Lake. Oh, really? Cool. Yeah. I said, you don't know anybody over there that has a slip or something I could put my boat in and rent? No, he says, I got 6 of them, but they're all taken. I have little cabins on a piece of property, and I built the dock, so the cabin, and you got the dock. It's like, man, I would love that. I said, but he said, those people have been with me for 20 years. They've been in there. 2 weeks later, the guy calls me up and says, hey, someone just said they're moving out. He's been in my little place for 22 years. I was like, really? So my wife and I went over and looked at this little cabin and bought it that day.
No
She was
way.
in love with it. Big screened in porch right on the lake. So now the boat, good thing we had a boat, and Bill bought that boat.
know,
So
dude.
now the boat gets rolled over to Smith Mountain Lake, which it's there now in the dock, and undercover now all the time. We have the best time at the lake.
Dude, let me know if you saw any more cabins.
We
That's
love
what
it.
I felt like when I left there. I was like, this is near us. I've never been to Smith Mountain Lake
Oh, is
until
that
last
right?
weekend.
Oh gosh, shoot.
Yeah,
Man,
and
I need to get you over there and come out. I'll show you the whole lake in a day.
I've worked on houses out there,
Yeah.
but like I'll look out the window and be like, oh, it's a cool lake. I've never
Right.
actually touched the water
Yeah.
or been anywhere. And we rented the pontoon boat, and I almost crashed because I've never driven pontoon boats are weird.
Yeah.
They don't turn.
They don't lean like a nice, but like my boat, they just turn.
I was pulling away from the doctor, like turn. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Finally
Other way.
got away. But
That's funny.
Once I got in open water, we were good to go.
Sure. Yeah.
And we were tubing and stuff. But I had a blast. It was a nice way to disconnect.
Oh gosh, it's the best.
Yeah.
We go out there, we anchor down out in the middle of the lake and just jump off the boat and float.
Yeah.
It's like the best part of my month. However, because we own a business, I've only been there twice this summer. So
Yeah, I know how that goes.
I'm an hour from my boat
Yeah.
and where I can go spend the weekend, spend the night, and we just can never get there.
I-
We're just too busy, and that's a shame, but I literally have to go over Sunday just to check on the place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put the boat in the water. I'm not going to go have fun. But that's another part of owning your own business is
I know.
you just can't enjoy some of the things because you're constantly going.
It's like this week, I don't know if I've gotten home earlier than 7 or 8 o'clock, and sometimes it's for fun things. Dan's daughter turned 1, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
so
know
we
it.
had a birthday party last night, but every other night it's been a grind, and tonight's going to be the same,
Yeah.
and it does suck because I'm like, I want to ride a motorcycle or do something. I haven't even cranked one of my bikes this year, and it's like,
That
maybe next
stinks.
year, you
Yeah.
know? So that's the one thing that I think about. I'm like, I don't want to get to the place where I'm am 70 and I keep saying, well, next year I'll do it,
Yeah, you can't do that to yourself, and you shouldn't, and most people shouldn't do that to themselves. You have to start enjoying life at some point.
Oh yeah.
We know too many people that passed away at a young age and were never able to appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I are already saying, I'm already saying we're going to start traveling. I want to go to Europe. I want to go to different places and start seeing the world, and I'm not going to miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
We like to go to Maine a lot. I started pulling I brought a couple yurts up there, and we just go up there. We stay in Maine for a couple nights. But you got to make that time for yourself, for
No,
sure.
it's important. And we do travel quite a bit. We don't leave the country. That's something that, as a married couple now, we're not interested in doing right now.
Yeah.
Rye's not big on leaving the country, and that's fine. I respect that for
Yeah.
now, and is what it is. But we do a lot of traveling in the country, and we've found there's a lot of beautiful places in our country.
gosh.
It's insane.
The Tetons. We went to the Tetons
Yeah.
a couple years ago. Just the
Mhm.
most. We want to do Grand Canyon. All the places around the country, but Maine is our
Maine's
hub.
beautiful.
We love to go to
Oh, it's
Maine.
insane.
We're there a couple times a year,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I grew up in Connecticut, and then my family owned property in Rhode Island, which still isn't Maine.
right. But we love Rhode Island.
Yeah, we had
Newport,
property
Rhode
in
Island is our
Jamestown.
second place is
Yeah.
to go and just hang out there. We love that town, but New England's a beautiful place for sure.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know you were from Connecticut.
I try not to tell too many people
Yeah.
because you know how that goes.
Oh yeah, no, I can tell you how that goes. Yeah,
I think I earned my stripes. Like I talked to Mark Bolt the other day. I was like, when can I just be considered a local?
right.
He's like, when your daughter has kids. I was like, damn. I was
Oh,
like,
good.
I'm not trying to promote my daughter having kids anytime soon, but like when that happens, I'm gonna be like, yeah,
I'm a local. Yeah, I was told 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well I've achieved that.
Yeah, I was told after 10 years you can be a local. So
Mark Bolt told me 3 generations.
okay, well,
I was like, whew, steep, man.
he's probably right. I'm sure.
No, I mean, that's one thing I love about Floyd is I love the community, and like you're the same way. I mean, we're friends with just about everybody,
Yeah,
even the certain people that we don't necessarily. I shouldn't say it like, but
yeah,
you know, we across the whole community, it's like I'm friends with the Ingrams and you know the sporting families, and you know I love that. I love being able to call them and say, hey, I just saw a cow running down the road. Do you need a hand? You know, and
Right.
it's like it's cool. I'm like I love it.
And Floyd, I've seen a part of Floyd that a lot of people may have never known existed, but when Helene happened,
Yeah, I want
and
to talk about
the
that.
people that came out to fill my trailers down at the Express Mart and fill
Mhm.
other trailers that were around.
Yep.
And then I started getting these connections down there and started, you know,
Mhm.
doing the whole raising the money thing. And so much came out of Floyd.
I was insane.
And then when I said I was going to build 2 houses,
Yep.
I had already spoke with you and spoke with some
Mhm.
other people to see if I had you on, because I couldn't just say it without having a
Matthew
plan.
Thomas and Abraham and
And we went down there and we did those 2 houses.
Derek
It was
Manning.
almost like that TV show Extreme Makeovers.
Oh yeah,
We did it that fast.
it was cool.
And they came up, everything was done professionally, everybody was communicating, and every builder was out of Floyd.
Yeah, we had let's see, we had Derek Manning did foundation. You did the
Foundation.
excavation.
Yeah,
Derek did the
Foundation.
foundation. Matthew Thomas and Abraham did framing.
yep,
And then we did electric and plumbing, Omnibuild. And then Robbie Pierce did the HVAC.
yep.
And then who else did we have?
Randy
Matthew
Connor.
Kessler. Okay.
Came down and did the framing
That's
on
right.
the other house.
Yep.
Matthew Thomas didn't do a whole lot of framing. He helped me finish up all the little loose ends at the end.
Gotcha.
Him and I went down there and just started putting up some trim and trying to get
Mhm.
the houses done so we could get these people in, you
Yeah.
know, because of the conditions they were living in. But the community was just,
That was
I mean,
cool, man.
it was like, there was times where I would just be like going
And you
down
raised
there.
a ton of money. I mean, it was incredible. And
Yeah.
you like partnered with like one of the biggest YouTube sensations.
Yeah, Dr. Eric Berg.
How's Dr. Berg doing?
He's doing good.
Good.
He, you know, he's busy right now. He's building a big house, and I haven't spoke with him in several months. But
Is he in Virginia still?
oh yeah,
Mm,
he's
cool.
still in Virginia. But we launched he was big into what was happening down there, and at the time he was doing my videos for me on YouTube, and then he knew I was down there, and he's like, Bill, have you started doing any videos? I said, yeah, I actually started them last week because this lady I'm working for has no money. Her
Mhm.
driveway's gone. I need a dumpster to get the house off hers and put it in the dumpsters. And we
Just put
couldn't
this
get
house
any
in the
money,
dumpster,
you know? So
yeah.
I did a little Facebook post. I was like, hey, I'm here. The house that I'm working on, the lady that was in it actually passed away, and I'm trying to get it off this other house. I crossed this creek. I had to build a bridge with logs. It was like surreal. It was just nothing I'd ever thought I'd see in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I look at my Facebook like that evening. There's $5,000 in there. I was like, oh my gosh! I raised enough money to get a dumpster and get her house cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the next house, no money, nothing. Well, let me see if I can raise a little more. So I started doing these videos, and it was working.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Berg saw me. He's like, let's you and I do a video together. We launched it on Thanksgiving Day, 2024. And in one day, we raised $300,000.
That is insane.
So then that day, I started getting followers. So I kept the videos going. I wasn't doing the videos for me. I was doing the videos because it was raising them money. And then, yeah, a little while later, there's $1 million in my account. I did it all GoFundMe, and then I started working with nonprofits down there, put money through them so people could get their tax deductions. And, then $1.1 million, $1.2 million. And then I started seeing the need of campers, unfortunately. I wished I owned Blue Ridge Yurts, and I could have brought Yurts down there, but it was so much faster to go get a camper.
Just get a camper, roll it
and
up.
bring it in.
Yeah.
I don't care if that camper is junk in 6 months, as long as they have a place to stay this winter.
I know.
It'll give them all next summer to figure things
timing.
out.
Yeah.
And we all pulled 40 some odd campers down there and put them in.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing.
And we put them in Floyd. We brought them down behind the Express Mart.
Yeah.
All the businesses and families took one and kind of, they filled it with blankets and food or generator. The high school was down there doing stuff.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah, shout out to Express Dustin Hollinsworth.
No doubt.
He's always
he's always
he's a
part of
great
stuff
guy.
and then gave us all breakfast that morning before we headed to North Carolina. But yeah, the town of Floyd,
it's a cool town.
It's an amazing town.
Don't publish that. We try to keep
I
it
go to
secret.
places all over, the East Coast. My wife and I go south during the winter. Like to go down to, places down around Port Royal and
Is Port Royal in Florida?
it's in South Carolina,
Okay.
Beaufort, and then Beaufort, North Carolina.
Does it stay pretty warm there in the winter, like 50s?
It's 60s, 70s, but
60s, 70s is nice.
It's always so nice to come back to Floyd,
Oh yeah.
And when I used to work in Roanoke and I'd crest the top of Bent Mountain, you just get this feeling
know.
like, I'm home. I'm coming home
5
to
to 10
Floyd.
degrees cooler.
Yeah.
It's
just so nice. Yeah, we love it for sure.
It's been the greatest thing. I moved here in 2001 and never looked back.
Yeah.
I had to leave a little bit when the recession came because there was just at that time there was one permit in Floyd County. I remember going to the building department and they're like, "There's one." I was like, "Is there any work going on?" They're like, "There's one permit right now."
Probably was mine.
Yeah.
Because that's when I was building my house.
Yeah. And I was like, ooh. And I went back and did my electrical apprenticeship and then came back when that was done.
So we came to Floyd at the same time, basically.
Yeah, right around the same time.
Yeah, because I lived in Roanoke in 99, and then I finished my house here in Floyd in 2001, and we moved in.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Copper Hill. And it was funny because then when I first moved here, I didn't know about Floyd. I lived in Copper Hill, but went down to Roanoke. So I was between Roanoke and Copper Hill. And then there was a party in my neighborhood, like a potluck. That's more what they call, back then and still, I guess now. But I went to the potluck and met Eli, who's my partner and like brother now. And he's like, "Do you want to come to our place?" And I went to check. And then I was like, "Oh, Czech's cool too." And then went to Floyd, and I was like, "There's a whole town here." I was like, "This is."
It's funny because I have the same story. Like, I wasn't too sure. I built my whole house and not even knowing Wills Ridge was there. I bought all my materials from Lowe's.
Yeah.
I was like, "Wait, you got a lumber store in Floyd?"
I know.
I was like, I didn't know
internet.
that. That would have helped, when I needed some nails and driving right by Wills Ridge to go to Lowe's and coming back.
Yeah, I when I first moved up, I the farthest I had gone was Ingram's, because I had gone to Smith's and asked for batteries, and they were out of batteries at that time.
Yeah.
When Ray Smith owned it, and then I went to Ingram's and I was like, "Do you guys have batteries?" And he's like, "Down yonder," and I was like, "Okay," and I'm like walking around, and I'm like, "Where?" And he's like, "Down yonder," and I was like, "I don't know what that means, man." And I felt, I think I got like slightly intimidated and didn't go back for like 6 months. And then, we now David and I and Robert, I mean, I consider them friends for sure. And like, I would do anything to help those guys.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I try to do as much business as I can there because it's a staple, and that's like the things, like you're a staple woodworker in Floyd County. And it's like anything I get related to what you do, it's automatic. It's not even same thing with like, a lot of the stuff. It's like Jared Cox. I mean, we work exclusively with him, and then they're like partner companies, and I love that we have the resources we do up in this little mountain. It's pretty crazy.
No doubt, for sure.
So
yeah, we sure do.
what else was I going to add? Oh, so you bought a Yurt company.
Oh, let's
What?
what?
We've talked about it a little
Somebody-
bit.
Yeah. Wait, so this is where the wife comes in again.
Yeah.
And she's and she's watching the
you
numbers.
Did what?
Wait, so I remember sitting on the front porch. So to go back, we've been building the wooden parts for the yurts for several years.
Okay, cool.
So I knew the yurt industry. I knew Sharon. I knew Kathy. So I knew one day I went over there and Sharon's like, I got some people coming in tomorrow. We're thinking about selling the business. I'm like, oh, they were from Iraq. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't,
Wow.
This was 3 years ago. So I was like, okay, they were getting, time for retirement and they wanted to kind of ease back. And so I started thinking about that and I'm like, we're doing a lot of money with them every year, building the parts and doing all the stuff. And I said, that's going to be a bummer, when I lose that.
Yeah.
And so some time went on and those people didn't buy the company. And then she had a company, Colorado Yurts, came out to look at Blue Ridge Yurts to buy it, but they couldn't make the logistics work. And they were struggling out there.
Is that when you're like, hey, babe,
yeah,
we're
sitting on the front porch swinging. And I'm like, I think I'm going to buy Blue Ridge Yurts. And there's always that silence, like, I know
Calculating
what's coming next. However, she actually kind of thought it was a good idea. She's like, let's start moving into this. Yeah. And like, let's slowly see what's going on, see how we can make it work. Let's talk to the accountants. Let's talk to my slowly moving in is like running to the shop, getting the phone saying sold, I'm coming over. When do I start? But we did it slowly. We moved in January 1st of 2026. We became 100% owner of Blue Ridge Yurts.
Wow.
We started taking the orders last November, and we had to build a new building at our shop. We had to really redo the things in the woodworking part of my shop so we could supply everything for Blue Ridge Yurts. And it's been going great.
So do you own the property out on Route 8 there too?
So no, so we don't. So Kathy is a vendor now.
Got you.
So I own Blue Ridge Yurts. I own I don't own that business.
I got
We're moving that to our shop.
Gotcha.
So we're going to start building a building this fall.
Sweet.
And we're going to move the fabric shop right up to our shop. So all the Blue Ridge Yurts is finally together in one spot.
That's cool.
And then, there's a few people down there that'll come and run that side of it. And then
Yurts are cool, man.
I think, I never thought I would own a yurt company.
Yeah.
Some people, and I go to New England, what's a yurt? Nobody knows what a yurt is. But
what is a yurt, Bill?
Well, a yurt is a round structure. The nomads, they'd started this back in, 2,000 years ago. They were a structure that they could actually put up and take down and move. They were very well heated in the winter because they would use different things like horsehair and they would have leather on the inside and then
for insulation.
For all their different, and they'd have probably 3 or 4 layers. They would use this lattice work, and it's funny. Just last night I was watching a show on Yurts from back then, and then they would put a little stove in it, and then they had a certain cart being pulled by a donkey or a mule that hauled the yurt all around. We now have several companies in the United States, us, Pacific Yurts, Colorado Yurts, Secret Creek Yurts, and Blue Ridge Yurts. However, Blue Ridge Yurts is the biggest yurt company on the East Coast.
Wow.
So we kind of own it on the East Coast. Blue Ridge Yurts is also the only yurt company that has a 10-foot wall for the 20-foot and 30-foot yurts.
Really?
Meaning that you can put a loft in that yurt and have a second floor.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are awesome.
So when I saw the numbers for Blue Ridge Yurts, I was like, we can't waste this company. We got to keep it going.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's been amazing.
That is exciting.
We're putting them out. These are coming out of Floyd County, Virginia. I'm delivering these things to Maine.
With a mule? Donkey?
Leather interior?
Yeah. No. Wouldn't that be authentic? Yeah.
You should do a video doing that because I think.
Okay. Have a good trip, Bill.
Yeah. I'm pretty pumped. I didn't quite get it until like at Floyd Fest, and then and I was like, oh, he bought Kathy's old shop and I think it's super cool, man, because she's had such a great business and they're really good quality.
They really did well with the business. The way they did it, those two women, again, they work in their basement nights. They tried to figure out how to make these parts work. Then they started doing a few different things with the wooden frame so you can have glass windows in a yurt. You know, we just sent one to Texas. The guy finally got it up yesterday. He showed me a picture of it, which is really cool because it's Texas and sand, and the color he got, I almost couldn't see the yurt.
Oh yeah.
It was really cool. But you know, you can get several different types of colors. We're doing a few things. We're trying to change a few things with it. But now I have something that I can sell. Now I have a business that you can, you know, who wants to buy a woodworking business? You know, that's a tough one. You know, a bunch of wore out tools. You know, I never really thought I could sell my woodworking business. I wouldn't want to sell my name. You don't want to buy, you know, my last name. But Blue Ridge Yurts is a name you want to buy. And when somebody comes in down the road, which I'm already working with that somebody now who's an employee, or a few employees, maybe just
down the road.
I'm setting them up so that in the next, you know, 5, 6, 7 years, it's time for me to start stepping back.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I like that diversifying. It's like, you know, not closing the door to other possibilities. You know, it's like I've been looking at different types of jobs and things, and I test the waters, and nothing's been the right fit, you know, yet. But it's cool to hear that you've done that and that it's working and you like it.
It's working.
Your wife's on board. It's exciting.
Yeah, and it feeds St. Pierre Woodworking. St. Pierre Woodworking builds the parts for Blue Ridge Yurts, and it's a great fit. It now makes St. Pierre Woodworking where I can kind of pick and choose the jobs I want to do. You know, I'm not taking everything I have to just to make payroll, just to pay the bills. I can say, no, I don't want to do that. You know, we're going to do something else, or we're not going to do anything. You know, I'm finally got the business at that point where I don't have to stress every single day about making payroll and everything.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing.
Good place to be.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I got to get me a yurt and a mule.
You do.
Yeah, you do. I actually thought about you when he was talking about the yurt. It's a 2-story yurt.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in one, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people have never been in one. And you see them from the outside, and it's just a round structure. And it's not like it's like beautiful cedar shakes and, you know, a big. But when you walk into a yurt, it's like just breathtaking. Just the dome and the structure and the wood and everything. And they're actually really cool.
It is cool. I've been in them because we've helped build or different things like that. Or like I've had employees that have had one they've lived in. But when I went into yours at Floyd Fest, I opened the door one day to see you and you weren't in there. And I didn't walk in because the floors look really pretty. But I looked around. I was like, God, this is nice. I was like, this is sweet, man.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the things that people do inside of them is just amazing.
Yeah. It's like a blank canvas in a circular format.
Literally.
And with your 10-foot walls, you can loft it or do a lot of different creative things.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot where it's maybe a dance studio or a yoga studio.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's also like the Airbnbs that happen in there. And then some of the ones that you're building with all the different partitions and walls that are really aesthetic and spiral staircases up to the loft. Yeah. It gets really cool. Like
they do. Unfortunately, the building codes are killing us.
Yeah.
Really?
And we are trying to find ways to, you can't get R44 in the ceiling of a yurt. You know, we can get R19 in the walls because we're getting R22. Actually, with the insulation that we use is R22. What we're trying to sell to the building inspectors, not just around here, Mark Boltz, who's our Floyd County inspector, loves yurts. He thinks they're so efficient. He wished all the other inspectors around the country would look at a yurt the way he does, how efficient they are. You know, it's 750 square feet. You can pull up to one in the middle of the winter. It's 72 degrees inside and there's snow on the roof. Yeah. So that's got to tell you right there. Yeah. It's working. Yeah. You know, the people inside are nice and cozy. It's all warm. But the building inspectors, when they see, first of all, they got to see our drawings, which we have stamped in North Carolina and Virginia. But our wind speeds are at 119. Our snow load is 40 PSF. It's just not meeting their codes quite.
With energy efficiency and stuff like that.
So there's other programs out there that we can kind of pull from, like, okay, what if we put better windows in? What if we did more insulation in the floor? Because we can't do anything with the walls and the ceiling because it affects the way the yurt is built. Yeah. So it basically is what it is. But some building inspectors are like, yeah, it's cool. Go for it.
Yeah, I think like you should get, because you said there's like 5 other yurt companies. You guys should get together.
We did.
Okay, cool.
We do. We're in a guild.
Mhm.
We speak every month.
Good.
We actually just hired a lady to put together a paper
For the International Building Code.
saying why
Yeah.
it's okay to build
Because
a yurt.
they have alternative housing section.
Yeah.
And if you can get in there, which I bet you could,
Yeah.
I think it'd be
And
fine.
if people can live in shipping containers and they can live in campers or their car,
Yeah.
then why can't they live in a yurt?
It's insane.
I
I think the building code, it's a little bit of a problem. I mean, they're making it virtually impossible. I think you need to have guidelines so things are safe and somewhat efficient, like don't put newspapers in your wall and mold or whatever. But
Right.
like, I think that there should be some rationalization and understanding. And I think you putting together the guild and then having somebody to write that letter is probably the path to
It is.
because they amend the code every year.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can fight it. We can come back on them. And that's what we're doing. We got this lady out, and I think she's from California. She's written it, used a lot of AI to do so, but we just got it back last week. We're all reviewing it. It wasn't quite what I was expecting. However, it's interesting what she came up with. And then when the building department says, no way in hell are you putting a yurt in my county, we send them this paper and say, you got to read this first. And a lot of times if we wear them out with things and they're finally like, okay, I don't understand, we'll throw things at a building inspector, and we just did this up in New York, kind of telling us, you tell us why we can't, and then we'll come back at you.
Yeah.
And we'll sometimes win.
Yeah.
We'll sometimes win that battle, like just build a yurt, just whatever.
It's like
We're going to inspect the deck.
There's a housing crisis.
Yeah.
It's like freaking ridiculous.
And I just saw on the news this morning, there is a housing crisis, especially in Montgomery County. There's a
Floyd
housing
County,
crisis
everything.
all over the world. My kids all have great jobs. I have a daughter that works at the hospital in Roanoke, and she's paying, I think, $1,500 a month for rent.
Yep.
She can't afford to buy a house.
I know. That's crazy.
Even the smallest little house in Floyd County, she cannot afford to buy that house.
Yeah.
So how do these young people start? Give them a $30,000 piece of property, have them buy a $30,000 yurt, put $30,000 into that yurt. So for $90,000, you can now
have
get
a house
going and get, put a septic in, put a well.
Yep.
But they're making it hard for people to do that.
Yeah.
And in this paper that we just had written, it does mention those things. Like, this is for the people maybe that can't afford a house, or this is for the guy that wants to have a fishing cabin on the New River, or this is for, the lady that wants to have her yoga studio out behind her house.
Yeah.
If they want that, the government shouldn't be able to say, no, you can't have it. Insulation isn't good enough.
Yeah. It's
doesn't make sense. But
well, I'm stoked that you're doing it, man. I'm glad you
thanks.
came on here.
Yeah,
It's been
fun.
It's been fun.
It wasn't much of a drive.
Yeah, no, it's pretty close to home.
Stones throw.
Sometimes when you do your drone videos of the shop here, I can see mine.
Oh, yeah.
or my house.
Sometimes I just fly over there just to see
just
if you're
to
working.
see what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. And,
Yeah, you bet.
Check out Bill St. Pierre Woodworking and Blue Ridge Yurts, man. They're pretty awesome.